Chosen one, listen closely. Heaven is not silent today. The laughter of God has echoed through realms unseen, and it was not provoked by angels nor the sound of harps, but by you, by something you did, perhaps small in your eyes, but mighty in His. You moved in faith when it would have been easier to shrink back. You obeyed when it cost you comfort. You forgave when your heart still ached. You thought it was just a quiet act of surrender, but it made heaven roar with victory. Right now, all of heaven is aware of your name. There is a smile upon the face of the Almighty, because one among His chosen remembered who they were. You did not give in to the whisper of fear. You did not yield to the familiar pattern of defeat. And though the world might never see what happened in that secret moment, heaven saw it. And God laughed, not mockery, not derision, but the triumphant laughter of a father whose child has just stepped into destiny. You have wondered for a long time if your obedience matters, if your prayers reach anywhere beyond your ceiling. But the sound of God's laughter is the answer. It means the plan of darkness has failed again. It means the trap that was laid for you just collapsed under the weight of your faith. You didn't even have to fight the way you thought you would, because faith fought for you. The moment you whispered, "I trust you," the heavens shifted. Chosen one. Your life is a divine broadcast. Every time you choose light, a signal goes out into the spirit realm, declaring that God's kingdom still reigns on the earth. Every time you stand in love, heaven records another victory. You are not just living day by day, you are rewriting history in unseen dimensions. Your pain, your persistence, your prayer, they have become instruments of divine music that reach the throne room. There are times when heaven's laughter sounds like thunder, shaking the roots of despair loose from the ground. And there are times when it sounds like a still wind in your spirit, whispering, "I am proud of you." That is what you feel now. That warmth rising in your chest, it is not coincidence. It is the smile of God, finding you right where you are. Do not dismiss this moment. Angels are pausing to witness it. Demons are fleeing because they recognize the sound of victory. You have shifted something. You may not see it yet, but chains have broken, and timelines have bent toward redemption. God laughs when His plan cannot be stopped, and today, you proved that it cannot. You have been through storms that could have hardened your heart. You have walked through valleys that could have made you bitter, but instead of shutting down, you reached out. Instead of cursing the pain, you turned it into prayer. That is the kind of obedience that shakes eternity. You did something today that reminded all of creation. Light still wins. It is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 2, verse 4. He who sits in the heavens laughs. The Lord holds them in derision. This is not the laughter of arrogance, but of unstoppable victory. It is the laughter of a king who watches every scheme of the enemy collapse in real time. When God laughs, it means the war has already been won. And right now, His laughter is the soundtrack of your breakthrough. So breathe, chosen one. Heaven is celebrating you. The battle that tormented your mind last night is already over. The decision you made to stand, to believe, to love, has tipped the balance of the unseen war. The angels are rejoicing because you didn't give up. The Father is smiling because your heart is still soft. Now lift your eyes. Do you feel that peace settling over you? That's the evidence of heaven's approval. Your story is no longer about survival, it's about reigning. You are stepping into a new dimension of boldness, where the enemy no longer recognizes you as prey, but as a conqueror crowned with purpose. And if this word resonates in your spirit, take this as your sign. Heaven wanted you to hear it right now. God pressed pause on everything else to get this message to you. So don't just scroll past, receive it. You are part of heaven's victory song. Like this message, if it found you at the right moment, share it so another chosen one can awaken. And comment below with 77 as a prophetic declaration that you choose victory over defeat. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, because what heaven begins today, it will continue to unfold through every word that follows. Heaven is laughing, God is smiling, and you, chosen one, are the reason. Something invisible happened when you moved today. Chosen one. The heavens rippled. You did not hear a sound. Yet in the realm of the Spirit, waves of light spread out from your obedience like rings across still water. Every quiet yes you give to God becomes a frequency that creation recognizes. The moment you stepped forward instead of shrinking back, an unseen current of power was released, and it began touching things you will never know until eternity reveals them. You may think your choices are small, but heaven never measures by size, it measures by surrender. What you considered insignificant, heaven counted as seismic. That single prayer you whispered, that moment you chose peace instead of retaliation. That breath you took before speaking in love, instead of anger, each became a spark that lit up invisible darkness. In the unseen realm, angels are assigned to motion. They wait for divine permission to move. But your obedience is one of the keys that unlocks them. You think it was just a thought you resisted, just a temptation you ignored, just an apology you finally made. But to heaven, it was a command issued by faith. The ripple you sent has already reached distant shores. The darkness that tried to cage you has learned something dangerous about you. You are not predictable anymore. You don't move by emotion, you move by spirit. The enemy once studied your patterns, but now you've become a mystery, hidden inside divine timing. Every time you trust, when logic tells you to quit, you confuse hell. Every time you worship through pain, you dismantle plans that were years in the making. What you did today wasn't random, it was prophetic. God uses small acts to trigger large reactions. A seed sown in silence can create storms of blessing. Heaven's economy is not like Earth's. Down here, we celebrate visibility. Up there, heaven celebrates obedience. The angels don't applaud platforms, they rejoice over posture. They saw your posture today. There was a moment, a heartbeat when you thought it was over, when you thought your effort didn't matter. But in that very instant, something was breaking free. You cannot see the full picture because the canvas stretches across eternity. God's movements are often slow in appearance, but swift in impact. One simple act of faith can rewrite years of pain. The Spirit whispers, "What you think is small is shaking kingdoms." There are prayers being answered right now because you said yes. There are hearts being softened, doors being prepared, and battles being won because you obeyed. Sometimes the greatest miracle isn't the mountain moving, it's your heart staying steadfast while the mountain still stands. When the prophets spoke of the days of divine alignment, they saw people like you, ordinary in appearance, extraordinary in obedience. The world doesn't see the ripple, but heaven measures it precisely. The sound of your faith travels faster than lightning through the atmosphere of eternity. It strikes targets only God could see. We are reminded through the words of Jesus recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father. This is not a call to perform, it is a call to illuminate. Every time you let the light within you radiate outward, the Father is glorified. Your light doesn't have to be loud, it just has to be genuine. The world grows darker by imitation, but heaven grows brighter through authenticity. When you live truthfully before God, the ripple becomes unstoppable. There is a rhythm to obedience. Heaven listens for it like a melody. Each yes creates harmony in places where there once was chaos. Each surrender sets creation back in tune with its maker. And now the sound of your faith joins that eternal symphony. You are not just reacting to life, you are composing something divine. Even now, something continues to move outward from what you did today. You may forget the moment, but heaven never will. The ripple you created will outlive you, traveling into generations you will never meet. Somewhere, someone will find freedom because of your decision to obey. Somewhere, a heart will choose light because you did. Chosen one. Heaven saw you. The ripple is still spreading, and God is still smiling. You didn't see it, but all of hell reacted when you made that choice. The darkness that once shadowed your mind trembled. Because peace is a weapon hell cannot understand. You may think choosing peace is passive, but in the spirit, it is an act of war. The moment you held your tongue, instead of striking back, you disarmed the enemy's entire strategy. That silence was not weakness, it was sacred warfare. You have no idea how much power your restraint carried. Every time you choose obedience over impulse, humility over pride, you cut the roots of rebellion that hell tries to plant in your heart. You are teaching the unseen realm what dominion looks like. The darkness wanted to provoke you, to pull you into a fight of flesh and emotion, but you didn't take the bait. And when you didn't, heaven laughed again. You faced invisible battles, mental storms, emotional attacks, sudden waves of fear that make no sense. That's because you carry a light that irritates the shadows. You are targeted not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous to the darkness. The adversary fears your awakening. Every time you remember who you are, his influence crumbles a little more. You don't fight with your hands anymore. You fight with your faith, your patience, your peace. The battlefield has changed, and so have you. What once wounded you, now only teaches you. The things that used to drain you now bow to your discernment. You're not easily shaken anymore, because heaven has been training you in quiet places. The Spirit wants you to understand this peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of divine control. When you walk in that control, chaos loses its authority. You no longer need to prove yourself. Your stillness already speaks. Your peace is not passive, it's prophetic. It declares that you trust the outcome God has already written. Peace, in its purest form, is not fragile, it is forged. It's built in the fires of disappointment, refined through moments of waiting, and strengthened when silence feels unbearable. When you choose peace, you are not avoiding the storm, you are mastering it. That's why Your stillness carries heaven's thunder. Every moment you remain grounded in divine calm. You prove to the universe that your roots go deeper than emotion. You've learned to anchor yourself in the eternal rather than the temporary. This kind of peace cannot be taught. It's revealed through battle. You've earned it by surviving what once tried to destroy you. As the apostle wrote in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." And this means your struggle is not with people, not with circumstances, not even with yourself. It's spiritual. Every argument, every misunderstanding, every temptation is just a disguise for a deeper battle. And when you respond in love instead of rage, you win that battle without ever swinging a sword. Heaven counts that as victory. Do you realize what this means? You've become an agent of divine disruption. Every time you walk away from conflict, the darkness loses territory. Every time you speak life into situations that smell like death, you turn battlefields into sanctuaries. You are shifting atmospheres, even when you feel ordinary. That's the power of being chosen. You may not see the results yet, but heaven does. There are victories happening behind the scenes that your eyes can't perceive. Angels are moving because of your composure. Demons are retreating because of your silence. You have learned the art of stillness, and it terrifies the kingdom of darkness. This is your reminder. Never underestimate the strength of peace. The greatest kings don't always rule through force, they rule through authority. You carry that same authority within you. You are not the anxious child you once were. You are a warrior cloaked in grace, armed with peace that cannot be stolen. Now, pause for a moment and let this truth settle. Breathe in and remember who you are. You are not reacting to life. You are governing it from a higher realm. You are seated with Christ, far above the chaos that tries to touch you. Every day that you walk in peace, you fulfill your calling as a stabilizer in a shaking world. If this word stirs something deep in you, write these words in the comments. Peace wins. When? Type it as a declaration, not just a phrase. When you comment it, you're not only agreeing, you're activating. You're telling heaven you understand the battle and you choose victory through peace. You're telling darkness that your silence is not surrender. It's strategy. It's your way of saying, I no longer fight like before. I fight with stillness, and stillness wins. Oh, heaven hears your agreement. Peace wins, and because of that, so do you. Heaven does not always respond with thunder or fire. Sometimes it stands. There are moments when the king himself rises from his throne, not in anger, but in recognition. Today, chosen one. Such a moment occurred. God stood up. The one who spoke galaxies into being rose not to strike, but to smile in victory over you. It wasn't because you achieved perfection. It wasn't because you impressed him with eloquence or strength. He stood because you stayed. You stayed faithful when you could have fled. You held the line when others abandoned the post. That steadfastness moved the heart of heaven, what kings of the earth could not do. Your simple endurance accomplished. In the courts of heaven, obedience carries sound. When you resisted despair, your perseverance released a vibration that reached the throne room. Angels paused. Silence fell. Then, like the rising of a mighty wave, The Almighty stood not to deliver judgment, but to bear witness. When God stands, the universe feels it. Every atom remembers its order. Every shadow recoils. Every promise quickens. You may think you're still waiting for your breakthrough, but the truth is, your breakthrough began the moment He stood. When the Father rises, nothing stays still. Chains become dust. Delays dissolve. What was sealed is suddenly opened. His standing is a signal. Heaven's declaration that the waiting season is ending. Heaven has a language, and one of its highest words is enough. When God stands, it is His way of saying, enough of the enemy's lies, enough of the delay, enough of the fear that has gripped my child. That word has already been spoken over you. Every limitation that once surrounded you has heard it. The atmosphere has shifted accordingly. You need to understand something sacred. God doesn't stand for everyone in the same way. He stands for those who dare to stand when all else falls. He stands for those who hold on to faith when every reason to doubt surrounds them. The heavens recognize endurance as a holy act. You may have felt invisible, but today, heaven honored your unseen fight. In the ancient days, when a ruler stood, it meant two things. Judgment was about to be executed, or a decree of victory was being proclaimed. Heaven's court has chosen the second for you. Your name was spoken in the chambers of eternity, followed by a sound, a laugh, a roar, a shout of triumph. That was the moment when what was meant to destroy you lost its permission to continue. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 59, verse 19, "When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him." That is what just happened. The flood came. It tried to drown your peace, your hope, your trust. But the Spirit, your unseen defender, rose up like a wall of fire between you and defeat. The standard has been raised, and your name is written on it. You are no longer surrounded by fear, you are surrounded by favor. There is something holy about divine intervention that doesn't require noise. When God stands, He doesn't always speak. Sometimes His very posture changes the atmosphere. That's why you've begun to feel lighter without knowing why. It's not coincidence, it's divine proximity. When He stands, His presence goes before you. The ground beneath your feet becomes territory reclaimed for heaven. You may not realize this yet, but others will begin to sense something different in you. Conversations will shift. Resistance will lessen. Where you once felt ignored, you will now find favor. It's not manipulation, it's manifestation. The King has already taken your side. Every door that once mocked you will soon recognize the authority of the one who stood for you. Do not rush this moment. When heaven moves, it moves with precision. There is a rhythm to divine timing, slow enough to build character, swift enough to deliver you in time. What you perceive as waiting is often heaven's choreography, aligning the right people, opportunities, and confirmations around your next assignment. You are entering a chapter where you will see God's standing presence as protection. Things that once touched you will no longer reach you. Environments that drained you will lose power. It is as if heaven itself is insulating your purpose. You have shifted dimensions from striving to being carried. This is not reward alone, it is recognition. God stood because you mirrored His nature. When you refused bitterness, you reflected His mercy. When you chose compassion, you revealed His character. You became evidence that His Spirit still works through human hearts. That is why He honors you now. And though you cannot see His form, you can feel the aftermath of His movement, the trembling in your spirit, the peace that follows chaos, the sudden clarity in confusion, all signs that the Almighty has risen on your behalf. The battle may not look finished, but in heaven's record, it is already marked, resolved. There are eyes in heaven that have watched you from the beginning, eyes not of judgment, but of wonder. They have seen your battles, your resilience, your quiet courage. And today, those eyes are filled with light, because you, chosen one, have written another line in heaven's book of triumphs. The cloud of witnesses leans forward, and the sound of their approval hums through eternity. You may not hear applause, but it surrounds you like the wind, subtle, constant, holy. The unseen world watches the seen one. Every decision you make becomes a message. You are living proof that faith still breathes on earth. Heaven's witnesses, prophets, martyrs, ancestors who walked the same roads of pain and glory, see the spark of divine fire alive in you. They recognize it because they carried the same flame. It is older than time, brighter than despair, stronger than death. When you speak words of life, their torches flicker in agreement. When you choose forgiveness, their crowns shimmer with remembrance. They know the cost of obedience. They know how it feels to stand alone with faith as your only weapon. And when you stand, they rise. You are not walking through this world unseen. You are being celebrated in realms beyond sight. We are reminded through the writings of the Apostle in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 1. Seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us run with patience the race that is set before us. No, there it is, the confirmation that heaven is not distant. It is near enough to feel your footsteps, close enough to whisper, "Keep going. You are not running alone." Every tear, every quiet victory, every whispered prayer becomes part of a symphony that stretches across generations. You carry the legacy of the faithful who refuse to bow to fear. And maybe you wonder, how does heaven watch? It watches like a gardener watching seeds push through soil, like a painter seeing colors emerge where there was once only emptiness, like a shepherd listening for the voice of one lamb returning home. Heaven watches with hope. You are heaven's living testimony that love never fails. Sometimes it's hard to believe that what you do matters. Life feels repetitive, faith feels lonely. But when you lift your hands in worship, invisible torches ignite across eternity. When you extend kindness, heaven takes a photograph of your heart and adds it to the gallery of grace. You may never see how much your life impacts others, but heaven does, and it celebrates you in secret. Now pause for a breath. Let this truth settle inside you. You are part of something eternal, a divine story that continues long after the noise fades. Your faith keeps heaven's melody alive on earth. You are a note in a sacred song, and the sound of your endurance harmonizes with generations who overcame before you. If this message touches something deep within you, I ask not as a demand, but as an offering of connection. Help this light continue to spread, like a candle that lights another. Your small act keeps the fire moving. When you like, it's not vanity, it's visibility, helping more souls find what you have found. When you share, you become a messenger of hope in a world that scrolls in silence. And when you subscribe, you choose to walk with a family of faith, a community of chosen ones, awakening together. And if your heart ever feels stirred to give, to sow into the continuation of this voice, know this: you are not paying for words, you are planting into soil that grows transformation. Every offering becomes a drop of oil that keeps this flame burning brighter. We move this message forward together, one act of faith at a time. Think of it as rain falling on a garden. Each drop matters. Your support becomes part of a river of encouragement that reaches souls you'll never meet. It is not about numbers, it's about nourishment. Together, we create ripples of healing and awakening across the earth. Chosen one, you are both the message and the messenger. Heaven's witnesses are watching, not with judgment, but with joy. They are whispering your name, praying you'll keep going, urging you to run your race with eyes fixed on the prize that does not fade. You are not forgotten. You are part of the eternal relay, one torch passed from the faithful before you to your own steady hands. So, let your flame burn without fear. Heaven sees, earth needs, and your obedience is the bridge between the two. If this message reached your heart, let your action be your amen. Like, share, subscribe, or give as your spirit leads. Every gesture, no matter how small, becomes a spark that keeps this divine fire alive. Heaven witnesses your yes, and that yes echoes forever. There are moments that seem ordinary on the surface, yet in the invisible, they shake foundations that have stood for generations. Today was one of those moments. Chosen one, you may not have felt the quake, but heaven did. What you did, small, simple, almost forgettable, was a divine interruption to a pattern that had haunted your bloodline for years. For too long, familiar cycles tried to dictate your story. The same emotional storms that swallowed your ancestors, the same fears that silenced their purpose, the same battles that repeated through decades. They thought they would have you too, but something different rose inside you today. It wasn't rebellion against your family, it was redemption through faith. You broke a cycle simply by saying, "It ends with me." Heaven recorded it. Angels marked the moment. You didn't just make a decision, you rewrote history. The chains that wrapped around your lineage for years loosened at your word. You are the first in your line to bow fully, to forgive fully, to walk away from what once controlled everyone before you. That's not weakness, it's divine warfare. There is power in obedience, but there is glory in surrender. Today, you didn't fight the curse with force, you broke it with faith. You refused to let anger become your inheritance. You rejected bitterness as your bloodline's crown. And in that instant, heaven heard something. It had been waiting centuries for the sound of redemption flowing through your name. You may think it's coincidence, but there is no coincidence in divine timing. The heavens have been preparing this shift since before you were born. Generations of prayers, some whispered by voices long gone, have echoed through eternity. And you became their answer. You are the manifestation of their hope, the living proof that grace does not expire with time. The Spirit of God is saying, even now, the curse ends here. The drought ends here. The wandering ends here. You are standing on sacred ground where the tears of those before you meet the laughter of heaven today. It is written in the book of Galatians, chapter 3, verse 13, Christ hath redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. Or, that verse is not a metaphor, it is a verdict. It means the legal right that darkness once claimed over your family has been cancelled. The curse has no court, nor voice, nor breath left. You are not bound to repeat the past. You have been adopted into a lineage of light, and your obedience today confirmed that adoption publicly in the Spirit. You may wonder why you felt such resistance earlier, why it felt so hard to do the right thing. It's because hell always fights hardest at the edge of breakthrough. But you pushed through, and because you did, you've opened a door your children will walk through without struggle. You may not see the full fruit now, but heaven has already planted it. There's a sacred exchange happening. You gave up pain, and in return, heaven gave you peace. You let go of the familiar, and God handed you freedom. You may have lost comfort, but you gained clarity. This is not the end of your story, it's the unveiling of your true name. There will come a day when someone in your bloodline will stand and thank God for your courage. They'll never know all the battles you fought, but they will live in the victory you purchased through obedience. You've become a door in time where destruction stopped and destiny began. Chosen one. You broke more than a habit today. You broke an agreement with darkness. Every generational voice that said, "We always fail here," has fallen silent, and the laughter of heaven now fills that silence. The curse may have run through your veins once, but now the blessing does. If this truth resonates in your spirit, mark this moment with your declaration. Comment the number 444 below. This is not superstition, it's symbolism. 4 is the number of establishment, the corners of the earth, the foundation of creation. By typing 444, you are agreeing with heaven's verdict that your foundation is being rebuilt on righteousness. It's your way of saying, "I receive the reset." And as you do, remember, what ends with you also begins with you. The laughter of heaven is not just for your victory, it's for generations yet unborn who will never know the chains you shattered. You have become the turning point in your family's story. The heavens rejoice. The earth takes notice. And God Himself calls it finished. There is a sound. The darkness dreads the silence that follows obedience. When you stopped arguing with your past and chose to walk forward, hell trembled. The kingdom of darkness doesn't fear noise. It fears stillness born of trust. You didn't shout. You didn't prove yourself. You simply stood. And that was enough to make shadows scatter. The trembling began when you stopped believing lies that once shaped your identity. For years, you were told you were too broken, too late, too unworthy. But today, that voice no longer controls the narrative. The enemy panics when he loses influence over your perception, because perception is power. If he can no longer convince you that you are defeated, his dominion collapses instantly. You may not see it with physical eyes, but in the spirit realm, the landscape around you has changed. The ground that once felt heavy with oppression now hums with divine energy. Chains that hung in the atmosphere are disintegrating like dust in sunlight. The darkness that stalked your peace has been forced to retreat, not because of your volume, but because of your authority. Authority doesn't shout, it speaks and is obeyed. That's what you carry now. You've stepped into a level of spiritual maturity where your presence alone disturbs what once intimidated you. Darkness recognizes the mark of ownership upon you, and it trembles. It no longer sees you as a victim. It sees you as territory claimed by heaven. Do you understand the magnitude of that? You, once the target of warfare, have become a weapon. You carry within you the same light that expelled Lucifer from heaven. Every step you take in obedience radiates frequencies of holiness that repel corruption. You are walking revelation, proof that light is stronger than shadow, even when the shadow lingers. The enemy does not waste energy attacking what poses no threat. His persistence toward you has always been proof of your potential. The heaviness, the delays, the strange setbacks, they were signals that hell knew your significance long before you did. But the moment you began to realize it, the tables turned. The hunter became the haunted. The darkness that once tracked you now hides from your gaze. The prophet once wrote that when the wicked flee, it's not because anyone pursues, it's because righteousness carries weight. That weight rests upon you now. You've become a carrier of holy gravity everywhere you go. The atmosphere bends toward truth. When you speak peace, confusion dissolves. When you enter a room, despair feels exposed. You are not ordinary. You are a living declaration that the light has come, as was spoken in the sacred text of James. Chapter 4, verse 7. Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. No, this is not a ritual of words. It's a lifestyle of surrender. Submission to God is your shield. Resistance to evil is your sword. You don't have to fight with visible weapons, because your alignment with heaven is warfare enough. The more you yield to divine order, the more powerless darkness becomes. Look closely at what's happening around you. Doors once locked are opening. Conversations once tense are softening. Burdens once unbearable are lifting. You are witnessing the evidence of spiritual trembling. Every act of obedience causes tremors in the kingdom of lies. That's why peace feels heavier now, like armor wrapped around your heart. You are not fragile anymore. You are fortified. The trembling of darkness is not chaos, it's transition. The forces that once ruled over certain territories of your life are being evicted. What felt like warfare is actually relocation. Darkness is losing its seat at your table. The sound you sense in your spirit is not fear, it's freedom, echoing through spiritual corridors. Soon, you'll notice how quickly anxiety fades, how naturally joy returns, how effortlessly forgiveness flows. These are not coincidences, they're confirmations that dominion has shifted. Darkness can no longer breathe the same air as your faith. Chosen one, do not be afraid of the trembling. It is the sound of your victory manifesting. Every vibration in the unseen testifies that the old season has collapsed. You've entered a new atmosphere where authority replaces anxiety and clarity replaces confusion. The Spirit of God has established your perimeter, and no force of darkness can trespass. Stand in this truth. You are not being attacked anymore. You are being announced. The trembling of darkness is heaven's applause, reverberating through the shadows, declaring, "This one belongs to me." And so walk with quiet confidence. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to defend what God has already secured. The trembling is not a warning of defeat. It is the sound of hell's surrender. There are moments when God whispers your name, not into the air, but into eternity. Today, chosen one, he spoke it into fire, not the fire that destroys, but the fire that defines. You have been called, refined, and sealed inside something divine. Your name has been spoken into light. and heaven has recorded it forever. When God whispers a name, it's not for identification, it's for transformation. He doesn't just call you what you are, he calls you what you are becoming. That's why you've felt pressure lately. The flame has not come to consume you, it has come to clarify you. Every trial, every delay, every silent test, these are not punishments. They are the forge where purity is born. Fire reveals what cannot burn. It exposes what is real. Gold doesn't shine until it passes through heat. And neither do you. The same way a blacksmith holds metal to flame to shape it. God is shaping you into something heaven can use. It may feel like breaking, but it's actually sculpting. The cracks you fear are where His glory intends to rest. You've walked through seasons where everything familiar seemed to fall apart. People left. Doors closed. Plan collapsed. You wondered, why does everything I build fall to ashes? But the Spirit whispers, because you were meant to rise from them. Fire is not the enemy, it is the instrument of refinement. You're not losing identity, you're shedding what cannot carry divine weight. When your name was spoken into fire, heaven was not punishing you, it was protecting you. Flames guard purity. They repel imitation. You have been set apart, sealed for a purpose that ordinary comfort could never sustain. The heat you've felt is proof of heaven's investment. If you were unimportant, the flame wouldn't bother touching you. We are reminded through the words of the prophet Isaiah in chapter 43, verse 2, "When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee." This isn't poetry, it's promise. It means the fire may touch you, but it will never claim you. It may test you, but it cannot take you. God Himself regulates the temperature of your trial. The flame burns only what you were never meant to keep: fear, doubt, insecurity, false dependence. When the refining is done, what remains is strength. You are learning that holiness isn't about isolation, it's about illumination. The fire that once felt painful now begins to glow with purpose. You start to see why you had to walk through it. You realize the season that scorched you was also the one that sanctified you. Fire doesn't destroy destiny, it unveils it. Chosen one. The reason you can endure the flames is because God Himself stands in them with you. He doesn't watch from afar, He joins the refining. Every tear you've cried in the fire has become steam rising to His throne, a fragrance of faith too costly for words. Heaven doesn't pity you in the flames, it honors you for remaining. And soon, the same people who saw you in ashes will see you in armor. They will ask how you survived. And you will smile not with pride, but with peace, and say, "Because I was never alone in the fire." That testimony will carry more power than any sermon. You won't need to convince anyone. The glow upon you will speak for itself. You've been sealed in something holy. When God speaks your name into fire, He is etching it onto eternity's walls. No darkness can erase it. No storm can wash it away. You are branded by glory, not by shame. You carry the mark of one who has walked through refining and emerged radiant. And now, the same flame that tested you will light your path. What once threatened to consume you will now become your guide. You will walk with the warmth of divine presence and the clarity that only fire-born souls understand. Remember, gold is never afraid of the furnace. It knows its worth will only increase. You, too, are learning to love the fire, because it no longer feels like punishment. It feels like purpose. So breathe. Chosen one. The fire has done its work. You are pure. You are strong. And your name is written in the light. The heat you endured was heaven's signature, the sign that you have been chosen, sealed, and set apart for glory. There comes a moment when time itself shifts. You can feel it not in the ticking of the clock, but in the rhythm of your spirit. Today, chosen one, the winds of heaven have changed direction around you. The season that once felt endless and stagnant is giving way to motion. The same ground that once resisted growth now trembles with life beneath your feet. You have stepped into divine acceleration. The transition didn't happen because you fought harder. It happened because you yielded deeper. God moves fastest in the hearts that wait well. What felt like delay was never denial. It was divine choreography. Heaven was aligning people, places, and provision to meet you at the appointed hour. And that hour is now. You've been walking through what felt like an eternal winter. Prayers unanswered, promises suspended, silence stretching across the sky. But even in the silence, something was maturing beneath the surface. The seed doesn't sprout in sunlight alone. It breaks open in darkness first. You thought the dark season meant you were buried, but heaven knew you were being planted. Now, the soil cracks open. The waiting ends. The timing of God begins to unfold before your eyes. The same spirit that hovered over creation is hovering over your life again. Everything that once seemed frozen is warming with divine motion. Where there was stagnation, there is now speed. Where there was confusion, there is now clarity. The old rhythm has broken, and a new song has begun. According to what is revealed in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. This is your time, not by chance, but by decree. You are stepping into a divine window where favor meets readiness. Opportunities that seemed far off are suddenly approaching. Conversations that once went silent are reopening. Dreams that you placed on heaven's altar are being handed back to you, refined and multiplied. But remember, this divine acceleration doesn't mean rushing. It means alignment. It means heaven's timing, and your obedience have finally met in perfect harmony. You are no longer waiting for doors. Doors are now waiting for you. Your name has been spoken in rooms you've never entered, and hearts are being prepared to receive what you carry. You'll begin to notice small signs. First, peace where anxiety once lived. Strength where exhaustion once ruled. Then larger shifts will follow, unusual favor. Sudden clarity. Divine connections that make impossible things look effortless. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. You are walking in sync with eternity. Heaven's timing is not random, it's relational. God releases acceleration when He can trust your pace. That's why the waiting was long. It was training. Now that your heart is steady, acceleration will not destroy you. It will promote you. You have been tested and tempered like a sword forged for battle. Now, when opportunity strikes, you will not falter. Everything that delayed you was secretly developing you. The doors you thought you missed were only waiting for the stronger version of you to arrive. The past seasons did not disqualify you. They prepared you to handle the weight of sudden glory. Chosen one. You are walking into a time where prayers will be answered faster, relationships will realign quicker, and peace will find you sooner. The rhythm of your life is shifting from striving to soaring. Heaven is synchronizing your steps with destiny's heartbeat. But remember, acceleration requires awareness. Move with grace, not haste. Listen more than you plan. The same spirit that brought you here will guide your next step if you remain still long enough to hear his whisper. Don't chase open doors, let them chase you. Don't force timing, flow with it. The season of waiting has ended, but the season of wisdom has begun. You are not just running, you are reigning. Time is no longer your enemy, it's your ally. The very clock that once mocked your waiting will now measure your miracles. If this resonates in your spirit, if you sense the divine wind shifting in your favor, comment below. Time moves. Type it as a prophetic declaration, a seal upon your season. When you write, time moves, you're not commanding the clock, you're agreeing with heaven. You're saying, I accept the timing of God. I move with his rhythm. I release control and receive alignment. Because now, chosen one, you are no longer trapped by waiting, you are carried by purpose. The delay is over. The divine rhythm begins. Heaven has many sounds. Some are thunderous. Some are soft, as wind through a field of wheat. But today, chosen one, the sound that echoed through eternity was laughter. Not the laughter of mockery or distance, but the laughter of relief, of victory, of love fulfilled. It was heaven's way of saying, we saw it, we felt it, you did not give up. There are celebrations on earth that fade within hours, but heaven's celebrations never end. The moment you obeyed, angels began to move like waves across a golden sea. Trumpets didn't sound for the proud or the powerful. They sounded for the faithful, the ones who kept believing, even with shaking hands and tear-filled eyes. That's why heaven celebrated you today. You see, when one act of faith rises from earth, it reverberates through realms unseen. It becomes a fragrance that heaven inhales with joy. Your hidden worship, your whispered prayer, your quiet endurance, they have all become part of heaven's celebration song. You think no one noticed, but heaven noticed everything. We are reminded through the prophet's words in the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 17. The Lord thy God, in the midst of thee, is mighty. He will save. He will rejoice over thee with joy. That verse isn't a distant promise, it's a present reality. God doesn't just tolerate you, he rejoices over you. His joy is not casual, it's consuming. The King of Heaven dances to the rhythm of your resilience. The sound of his laughter today is the melody of completed faith. Heaven throws celebrations differently from earth. There are no balloons or lights, just waves of radiant sound, rivers of color that move with emotion, and songs that contain eternity within a single note. And at the center of that sound was your name. You are not merely known in heaven, you are cherished. Imagine this. When a warrior returns from battle carrying scars that prove survival, the kingdom doesn't mourn those marks, it honors them. That's how heaven sees you now. Every wound you've healed from, every night you prayed through, has become a medal of glory. Heaven's laughter is its way of welcoming you home from war. Chosen one, your faith is a story worth spreading. Like the light of a lantern carried through darkness, it helps others see their own way forward. When you share what heaven is doing here, when you like, when you share, When you subscribe, you aren't feeding an algorithm. You're feeding the fire of awakening. Every click is another spark that tells the world, light still wins. End of the pru. And if you ever feel led to give, to pour into this message, think of it not as a transaction, but as planting. You are not donating to a person, you're watering a tree that gives shade to souls who are tired and searching. Every seed you sow becomes nourishment for someone you may never meet, like rain that falls in one field but grows flowers in another. Your generosity will reach farther than you can imagine. Some people build walls to protect their hearts. Others build bridges to extend hope. When you support this message, you're helping build bridges that carry love to the wounded, light to the lost, and healing to those still hiding in shadows. Your small act of support, whether a like, a share, or a gift, becomes a beam of light added to a growing constellation, and together, those lights form maps in the night sky for wandering hearts. Each one leads back to the truth. God still moves. God still laughs. Good still wins. Heaven's celebration is not over, it's expanding. Every new heart that hears this message becomes another note in the same celestial song. When you help that happen, you're joining the chorus. You become both the receiver and the messenger of joy. Think of it like this. A river that never flows becomes a stagnant pool. But when it flows outward, it stays alive. The same is true of faith. What you've received today isn't meant to stay locked within you, it's meant to flow. Share it, and watch how life begins to move again in you. 2. So, as heaven rejoices, let earth respond. If this message stirs something holy in you, let it find form in your action. Like, share, subscribe, or sow whatever heaven places on your heart. Each act is a ripple of divine laughter sent back upward, saying, I heard you, Lord, and I agree with your joy. Emzani. Heaven laughs because you believed again. And now, every time you help spread this light, heaven laughs again. The celebration continues. And you, beloved chosen one, are the reason it began. There are moments when heaven bestows authority quietly. No lightning, no ceremony, just a sudden awareness that your words have weight. That shift, chosen one, happened today, without your realizing it. God placed a mantle upon you, a divine cloak of purpose woven through your obedience. You didn't earn it through striving, you received it through surrender. The mantle doesn't always appear as power. Often, it feels like responsibility. It feels like new discernment, new compassion, new vision. It may even feel heavy at first, because heaven entrusts it only to those who have been tested in silence. You have been. Every night you wrestled in prayer. Every season you walked through fire without losing your softness. That was preparation for this moment. The mantle is heaven's acknowledgement that your heart has been proven faithful. It is the signal that you've moved from survival to stewardship. You are no longer only carrying your own story. You now carry stories of others waiting for breakthrough. Your words, once fragile, now carry creative force. What you speak in alignment with heaven will begin to manifest on earth. You have noticed it already. When you speak peace, the atmosphere changes. When you bless instead of curse, situations start to shift. When you pray, the air thickens with presence. That is not imagination, that is authority. God's mantle is resting upon you, and it recognizes no opposition. The ancient ones understood this mystery well. They knew that when heaven places a mantle on someone, it is not just a garment, it is an assignment. Elijah's mantle didn't make him famous, it made him faithful. And when he passed it to Elisha, it was not fashion, it was fire. You now wear that same unseen fire, burning quietly within your spirit. The apostle recorded it clearly in the book of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy. That word power is not noise, it is divine permission. It means you now have heaven's backing to confront what once controlled you. You do not need to shout to command, you simply need to stand in truth. Authority flows from alignment, not emotion. When your heart stays connected to God's will, your words carry heaven's resonance. With this mantle comes sensitivity. You will feel more deeply, see more clearly, discern more sharply. You may sense the pain of others, the lies beneath conversations, the heaviness in certain places. This is not a burden, it's insight. Heaven is allowing you to see through layers so you can bring healing where others only see chaos. There is also humility woven into this mantle. Power without purity leads to pride, but authority clothed in surrender births compassion. That is why God chose you now. After the refining, you know how it feels to be broken, so you will never misuse the power to break others. Instead, you will use it to build. Do not be surprised when people begin to respond differently around you. Some will be drawn to your peace, others may resist it. That's because your presence exposes atmospheres. Light doesn't argue with darkness, it simply reveals it. You won't always need to explain yourself. Your fruit will do the speaking. The mantle also changes your prayer life. You will find words forming that you didn't plan. You'll sense authority rising where there once was pleading. You are no longer begging heaven for intervention, you are now partnering with it. When you declare peace, heaven releases it. When you forbid confusion, the spirit world obeys. You have become a vessel of decree. But remember, authority is not about dominance, it's about service. The mantle does not crown you, it commissions you. God's greatest leaders are still His greatest servants. Carry this fire gently, knowing that its purpose is restoration, not recognition. There will be moments when you feel its weight pressing on you, reminding you to walk with reverence. But there will also be moments when you feel its warmth, a constant assurance that heaven walks with you. That warmth will guide your words, your choices, your movements. It will become instinct, a divine rhythm where you move when heaven moves. Chosen one. Do not underestimate what has happened. You have been entrusted with something eternal. The mantle resting upon you is not decoration, it's destiny. Walk carefully. Speak deliberately. Love deeply. Every action from this point forward carries ripple effects far beyond what you can see. You are no longer only the one who prays, you are now the one whose prayers shift nations. You are no longer the one waiting for change, you are now the one through whom change flows. The mantle upon you carries heaven's authority and earth's hope. You wear both now, and they fit you perfectly. When heaven claims something as its own, it marks it not with ink or metal, but with presence. Today, chosen one, that mark rests on you. You may not see it in the mirror, but the spirit realm does. You have been stamped, sealed, and signed by divine ownership. You no longer wander under uncertainty. You walk under the signature of the King. There is a shift that happens when God says, "This one is mine." Suddenly, what once attracted chaos now repels it. What once attached itself to your weakness now falls away. You begin to feel lighter, not because circumstances change immediately, but because the invisible chains lose their permission to cling to you. Divine ownership is not symbolic. It is spiritual authority legalized by grace. This mark is not earned. It is bestowed. It appears the moment surrender becomes sincere. Heaven does not brand slaves. It seals sons and daughters. The mark you carry is not of control, but of covering. You are no longer exposed to every attack, because heaven's name has been written over your life. Wherever darkness searches for a way in, it meets the seal that says, "Protected." Not. It was written long ago in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 22, "Who hath also sealed us, and given the earnest of the Spirit in our hearts." Not. That verse describes what happened today. The seal is not external, it is the Spirit within you. The very breath of God has settled in your chest like a sacred signature. That presence doesn't just visit, it dwells. You have become a vessel, a tabernacle of living light. Every word you speak, every step you take, carries that mark. Because of this seal, you will begin to notice divine distinctions appearing in your life. Environments that once drained, you will no longer tolerate your peace. People who were sent to distract you will lose interest, because heaven's light reveals every false motive. You will feel more at home in truth than ever before, and you will lose your appetite for anything counterfeit. Ownership changes everything. When a painter signs his masterpiece, it stops being just another image. It becomes priceless. That's what happened to you. God has signed your life with His Spirit, and heaven now recognizes you as a finished work in progress. You are not perfect, but you are authentic, and authenticity is heaven's currency. Chosen one. That mark carries both privilege and purpose. Privilege, because you are covered by divine favor. Purpose, because you are now an ambassador of that same grace. Wherever you go, the unseen seal of heaven goes with you. Demons recognize it. Angels honor it. Creation responds to it. You are heaven's representative in human form. It's important to understand that this seal is not fragile. It cannot fade with doubt or wash away with failure. It is written in spirit, not circumstance. Even when you stumble, the mark remains. You may feel distant at times, but heaven never misplaces what it owns. The seal stays until eternity confirms completion. You may have noticed a recent stillness in your soul. That peace isn't random. It's ownership settling in. You are no longer drifting between identities. You know to whom you belong. That confidence will soon reflect in your words, your posture, your very presence. You will speak with clarity, not because you know everything, but because you know who holds you. This is the mark of divine belonging. It is not a badge of superiority, but of intimacy. God marks what He intends to keep close. You are not a servant in His palace. You are family at His table. And family carries the seal of trust. If this truth resonates in your spirit, and you sense the reality of this divine signature burning within you, comment below the number 555. Do not see it as a ritual. See it as a recognition. 5 is the number of grace. And triple grace is heaven's echo of completion, grace upon grace upon grace. By typing 555, you are declaring, I am sealed by grace. I belong fully. I am kept by His mark. No. And as you do, imagine that mark glowing across your heart, unseen but undeniable. The world may not recognize it, but the spiritual world bows before it. You have been claimed, secured, and sealed not for a moment, but for eternity. Chosen one. You carry heaven's handwriting. You are not property of the past, not prisoner to mistakes, not defined by pain. You are owned by love, marked by mercy, sealed by Spirit. Wherever you walk, creation knows who you belong to, and nothing, no lie, no loss, no darkness can ever erase that mark. There are seasons when everything seems to unravel at once, plans collapse, relationships fracture, dreams fade into silence. You look at the ashes and wonder, was any of it worth it? But heaven sees something different. What appears as destruction in your eyes often looks like rearrangement from above. Every ending you've endured was a prelude to reversal. Chosen one. You've been walking through a divine inversion. The very things that once worked against you are now becoming instruments for your elevation. You can feel it, the subtle shift in atmosphere, the way pain no longer stings like it used to, the way rejection no longer defines you. These are signs of reversal. The story that began in tears is about to be retold in triumph. There's a law in heaven that darkness never understands. Whatever it touches unjustly must eventually serve the light. That's why every betrayal, every disappointment, every moment of shame is being rewritten. God wastes nothing. He's turning the ashes into architecture, the ruins into revelation. What was once your breaking point will soon become your birthplace. When Joseph was thrown into the pit, heaven did not intervene immediately. It watched. It waited. It allowed the betrayal to play its part. Because, in divina math, subtraction often precedes multiplication. The pit became the passage. The prison became the preparation. By the time Joseph stood before Pharaoh, he was not just a man who survived, he was a man who understood. That's what's happening in you. Every injustice that once haunted you is becoming your training ground for leadership. You will speak differently now. Because pain has purified your compassion. You will walk differently now. Because loss has strengthened your discernment. What once broke you has become the very foundation that will hold your glory. The reversal has already begun. You can feel it in subtle ways. The same voices that once dismissed you are beginning to echo your truth. The same paths that rejected you now seek your presence. The same wounds that silenced you are becoming testimonies that set others free. This is what divine reversal looks like, not vengeance, but vindication, not revenge, but redemption. We are reminded of this promise in the ancient story written in the book of Genesis, chapter 50, verse 20. Ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. This isn't just a verse, it's a blueprint. The enemy's schemes are limited, God's creativity is endless. Every evil intention has a reversal clause hidden inside it. What was meant to destroy your identity has actually deepened it. What was meant to silence your voice has given it resonance. You are walking proof that God can recycle even the darkest material into light. The reversal does not erase memory, it redeems it. You will remember the nights of despair, but now they'll testify instead of torment. You'll remember who left, but without bitterness. You'll remember how you almost broke, but with gratitude that you didn't. Reversal doesn't deny the wound, it transforms it into wisdom, and soon you'll find yourself speaking with a new authority, an authority born not from theory, but from survival. People will listen to you, not because you sound perfect, but because you sound real. The anointing of authenticity is rare, and it only rests on those who have wrestled with God and refused to let go. That's you. You wrestled. You endured. You won. You are no longer the same soul who entered the storm. The winds that once threatened to destroy you have actually carved wings on your back. You have become something the darkness cannot decode, a living contradiction of pain and power, brokenness and beauty, grief and glory intertwined. And when you walk now, heaven walks with you. The air around you has changed. It carries the scent of restoration, the vibration of victory. You have become an atmosphere of reversal, a walking declaration that nothing surrendered to God ever stays wasted. Chosen one. Understand this truth deeply. Restoration does not mean returning to what was, it means surpassing it. You will not go back to the version of yourself that existed before the pain. You will rise as someone stronger, wiser, gentler, yet infinitely more powerful. The reversal is not about recovering the old, it's about revealing the new. You've entered the divine paradox, the place where wounds become wells of wisdom, and sorrow becomes the seed of strength. Heaven is not just returning what was lost, it's adding interest. The scales are balancing, but the outcome is abundance. You will testify not, "I survived," but "I thrived because of it." So, lift your eyes from the ashes. Look again. That's not smoke, it's glory ascending. That's not ruin, it's rebuilding. The story is not over. It's just being rewritten by the author himself. And when the final chapter unfolds, even your scars will shine. The reversal is complete. What was meant for evil has already bowed before good. There are moments when heaven falls silent, not in absence, but in awe. The stillness you feel now, chosen one, is not abandonment. It is alignment. God is not ignoring you. He is orchestrating something vast. Every delay has a rhythm. Every pause, a purpose. The silence before the outpouring is not emptiness, it is incubation. When a seed is planted, the ground grows quiet. Beneath the surface, roots begin to spread. Unseen yet unstoppable. That is the season you stand in now. What feels like inactivity is actually divine activity hidden from view. Heaven works in silence because destiny requires stillness before manifestation. You have prayed, cried, declared, and waited. And now, heaven's answer is taking shape in the dark. God hides his greatest works until they are ready to endure visibility. Just as a child is formed in the secret place of the womb, so are promises formed in the secret place of faith. The silence is not punishment, it's protection. You are being protected from premature exposure. Heaven doesn't reveal what isn't ready. Some blessings are still forming their structure, waiting until your spirit is strong enough to hold them. The silence ensures your foundation won't crack under the weight of what's coming. You are not being withheld from you, are being prepared for. As it is written in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, and not lie, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. That verse is the whisper of God's patience. Heaven's timing is always exact, even when it feels delayed. The vision is alive. It is breathing beneath the surface, waiting for the divine cue to emerge. When it finally does, it will not limp, it will leap. It will not whisper, it will roar. In this silence, heaven is rearranging your surroundings. People are being positioned, hearts are being softened, and pathways are being cleared. You think nothing is happening because you cannot see movement. But the orchestration is too vast for your human eyes to perceive. The quiet is sacred. It's the sound of heaven constructing your next season. This kind of silence is not passive. It's holy strategy. God often conceals his next move within stillness so that the enemy cannot predict it. Noise attracts opposition. But quiet confuses it. That's why your life feels unusually calm after chaos. Heaven is shielding its plan behind peace. And yes, sometimes the silence stretches long enough to test the edges of your faith. You start to wonder if God has changed his mind. But the truth is, his silence is not a void, it's a vow. He pauses not because he's forgotten, but because he's faithful. He waits until every strand of your story intertwines perfectly with his will. Think of an artist standing before a masterpiece in progress. To the untrained eye, the stillness seems idle, but to the artist, every pause is precision. Each moment of contemplation ensures the next stroke completes, not corrupts. The vision, that's what God is doing in you now. The brush has not stopped. It's hovering in divine focus. The silence is also a refining fire for your hearing. It tunes your heart to the subtleties of God's whisper. In the noise, you needed signs and confirmations. In silence, you learn to recognize presence. You begin to feel the difference between absence and awe. You no longer crave proof, you carry peace. And when the silence finally breaks, it won't begin with sound, it will begin with shift. You'll notice a sudden ease where there once was resistance. Doors will open without effort. Conversations will align without planning. Dreams you set aside will reappear fully formed, as if they had been growing while you weren't looking. That's the miracle of the pause. It multiplies in stillness. Even creation understands this rhythm. The ocean withdraws before it releases its next great wave. The archer pulls the arrow backward before the release. The night deepens right before dawn. In the same way, your current stillness is the prelude to a greater surge. Heaven is pulling you backward only to launch you forward. Chosen one. This is not the end. It is the breath before the song. The world may call it silence, but heaven calls it symphony. Every unseen detail, every unspoken prayer, every unseen tear, they are all becoming notes in the melody that is about to play. Hold steady in the quiet. Rest in the hush. For soon, the silence will break, not with a whisper, but with the sound of outpouring. Heaven's rain is gathering. Heaven's thunder is forming. And when it falls, you will understand why the wait was sacred. The silence has not been empty, it has been pregnant with promise. The stillness you feel is not delay, it is divine design. And when the outpouring comes, You will remember this, hush, not as abandonment, but as the sound of heaven holding its breath before it blesses you. When one voice rises in truth, heaven listens, but when a remnant rises together, heaven moves. The sound of awakening is stirring across the earth. Chosen one, you are not the only one hearing this call. There are others scattered, silenced, scarred, who are beginning to remember who they are. The remnant is awakening, and their collective heartbeat is shaking the foundations of despair. You are part of that remnant. You are one note in a divine harmony that heaven has been composing for ages. The darkness thought it had silenced your generation, but it only muffled the sound for a moment. Now the echo of destiny is traveling through your spirit, summoning you to rise. This is not just about revival in churches. This is about resurrection in hearts. The Spirit of God is gathering His chosen ones like embers drawn together to form a flame. Alone, each ember flickers, but together they become a wildfire that no darkness can contain. You have carried your light through loneliness long enough. Now it's time to unite with others who burn for truth. Heaven is building an army of quiet warriors, people who love deeply, forgive quickly, and obey completely. As written in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 11, the Lord shall utter His voice before His army, for His camp is very great. That army is not made of soldiers with swords, it's made of servants with surrender. Their weapon is love. Their shield is peace. Their victory is obedience. And today, heaven is counting you among them. You may feel small, but every revolution in history began with a whisper that refused to die. You are that whisper, multiplied by thousands of others, awakening right now. You've probably felt the tug in your heart, a sudden urgency to pray, to speak truth, to walk in purity, to live with purpose. That's the Spirit calling you into formation. It's not hype, it's holy momentum. You are stepping into alignment with heaven's movement on earth. Every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every time you forgive instead of retaliate, you contribute to heaven's advance. This is why your presence here matters. You are not just a listener, you are part of this unfolding miracle. When you engage with messages like this, when you like, share, or even leave a word in the comments, you're doing more than interacting with a screen. You're adding your light to a global constellation. Somewhere, someone in despair will stumble upon that shared light and find direction again. Think of this space as a garden of souls. Each like is a drop of water. Each share a ray of sunlight. Each subscription a seed planted for another soul to find hope. And if you ever feel moved to give, to pour into the soil that nurtures this message, understand, it's not a donation. It's participation. It's partnership with heaven's flow. Every seed sown sustains the roots of something bigger than us all. When you give, think of it as helping build a lighthouse on a dark shore. Someone you will never meet will see that light and find their way home. That's what this community is, a lighthouse for the weary, a sanctuary for the forgotten, a rallying cry for the chosen. You are part of its foundation now. And remember, giving is not just about currency, it's about continuity. Every time you comment, encouragement, or share truth, you're giving something priceless, your voice. The internet may feel crowded with noise, but when your words carry anointing, they pierce through the static like lightning through clouds. If this message speaks to your spirit, leave your echo below. Type, I rise. It's not just a phrase, it's a declaration. When you write those words, you're joining the chorus of chosen ones around the world who are saying, I refuse to sleep through my calling. I rise with heaven's army. And this is how revival begins, not with stadiums, but with sincerity, not with spectacle, but with surrender, one heart at a time, one word at a time, one act of faith at a time. Together, we form a current strong enough to shift generations. So if this light has found you, let it move through you, like this message to keep the fire alive. Share it so the embers reach farther. Subscribe so you can walk with this growing family of faith. And if your heart stirs, give not out of obligation, but out of overflow. Every drop of support becomes oil for the lamp that refuses to go out. The remnant is rising. The sound of awakening is spreading, and heaven is smiling because you heard the call. There are mysteries hidden in suffering, treasures wrapped in tears. The world fears pain, but heaven transforms it. What you've endured was not punishment, it was preparation. Every moment of loss, every hour of waiting, every question that echoed without an answer was shaping a crown. You did not know it then, but the cross you carried was birthing your crown. You see, the divine pattern never changes. Before exaltation comes endurance. Before glory comes grief. Every chosen one must walk the narrow road that teaches compassion through pain and humility through hardship. The weight you felt was never meant to crush you. It was designed to calibrate you. The cross you carried became the measure for the authority you now hold. There is a sacred exchange happening in heaven's economy. God never wastes a wound. Every tear you've cried has watered the soil of your future. The nights you thought were empty were actually heavy with divine investment. The crushing you experienced was heaven's way of extracting the oil of anointing. It had to press you, to pour you. And now, the fragrance of your endurance rises like incense before the throne. We are reminded through the Apostle's words in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, gives. That crown is not a distant reward. It begins now. It shines in every act of obedience. Every moment you choose forgiveness over revenge. Every time you love when it costs you something. Your crown is not only for the afterlife, it is the present manifestation of victory in the face of suffering. You wear it when you stand tall after being broken, when you speak light into darkness, when you refuse to quit. The cross and the crown are not opposites, they are companions. One reveals your endurance, the other reveals your elevation. Without the cross, the crown has no meaning. Without the crown, the cross has no closure. Together, they form the full picture of redemption, the story of pain turned into purpose. Think of the goldsmith, refining precious metal in fire. The crown must be melted before it is molded. It must endure heat before it can hold jewels. The fire was not against you, it was for you. Heaven was shaping something royal out of what the world discarded. Every scar became a setting for glory. Every bruise became a mark of belonging. You are learning now that pain was never meant to define you. It was meant to identify you. It marked you as one chosen to understand suffering so deeply that you could carry compassion without compromise. The world listens to those who have bled and still believe. You have become that voice, gentle yet powerful, scarred yet sacred. When you look back, you will see how perfectly the pattern fits. The very places that broke you became altars where heaven met you. The moments you thought were abandonment were actually appointments. Each valley carved capacity in you, making space for greater glory. God never forgets the weight of your suffering. He converts it into strength. The laughter of heaven, the one you've heard echo through this journey, is not mockery, it is the sound of triumph. It's the laugh of a father who knew the end from the beginning, who watched you walk through darkness and emerge radiant. Every time you thought it was over, heaven whispered, "Wait until you see what I'm building from this." La, chosen one, your cross was heavy, but your crown will be holy. You carried burdens few understood, but you did not carry them alone. Every step, unseen hands steadied you. Every fall, grace lifted you. Every silence, love surrounded you. You may have bled, but you never broke beyond repair. Now the crown glows upon your spirit. You may not see it, but heaven does. The angels recognize it. Creation responds to it. It's not made of gold, it's made of glory. It carries the weight of endurance, the gleam of humility, the reflection of divine faithfulness. It's not a symbol of superiority, but of survival transformed into sanctity. There will be days when you still feel the echo of the cross, but even then, the crown will remind you that suffering was never the final chapter. You have graduated from grief into greatness, not the loud greatness of men, but the quiet greatness of heaven. So walk as one crowned in light. Let your posture reflect peace. Your words carry healing. Your presence radiate hope. The cross forged you. The crown confirms you. Heaven's laughter is your coronation song, and the story that once hurt you has now become your glory. There are moments when heaven touches earth, not with thunder or fire, but with stillness that feels like eternity, breathing. You are standing in such a moment now, chosen one. The journey that began in breaking ends in belonging. The laughter of God no longer echoes from afar. It now lives inside your voice. The victory you once prayed for has become the rhythm of your heartbeat. Creation recognizes you. The wind no longer pushes against you, it carries you. The ground beneath your feet does not resist, it responds. The earth has always been waiting for those who walk in divine awareness, those who remember who they truly are. You have become one of them, an awakened vessel of heaven's presence living on sacred ground. The apostle once wrote about this mystery in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 19. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God. And that verse has been fulfilled in you. You are not waiting for permission to shine. Creation has been waiting for you to remember. The flowers bend toward you, not out of superstition, but recognition. The world itself can sense the authority of the redeemed. When heaven laughs, nature sings. When you speak truth, the elements listen. Every storm that once frightened you now bows before your peace. You've become a carrier of equilibrium, a living reminder that the same spirit that hovered over the waters at creation now hovers within you. Wherever you go, chaos loses its power to intimidate. You no longer survive seasons, you shape them. The air feels different around you because the curse of separation has lifted. You walk not as a servant seeking favor, but as a son or daughter embodying it. The earth responds to that frequency. Fields yield faster. Opportunities align smoother. Hearts open quicker. heaven and earth agree upon your identity. And that agreement releases miracles. This is the harmony that the prophets foresaw, the reunion of Creator and creation through those chosen to carry His essence. You are no longer reaching upward for heaven. Heaven now flows outward from within you. The border between sacred and ordinary has dissolved. Every step you take is worship. Every breath you release is prayer. Your journey has not been easy. It was never meant to be, but now, as the dust settles and the fire cools, you realize it was never chaos, it was construction. The breaking built capacity, the silence taught discernment, the fire forged wisdom. Every trial carved space for more of heaven to dwell inside you. Look around you now. Everything that once seemed ordinary carries meaning. The sunrise feels like a promise kept. The whisper of the breeze feels like heaven's applause. Even your own reflection no longer looks familiar, because you're seeing yourself as heaven always has, whole, holy, and healed. The earth has been waiting for those who can walk through it without taking from it. You are becoming one of those souls restorers, carriers of balance. Your presence mends what pride once broke. Wherever you walk, peace lingers like fragrance after rain. You are not chasing blessings, you have become one. The laughter of God, the sound that started this story, has settled in your spirit. It's the sound of assurance that nothing can separate you from divine love again. The heavens rejoice not because you arrived at perfection, but because you arrived at presence. You finally learned to dwell instead of strive, to trust instead of tremble. The mantle, the seal, the fire, the silence, all of it led to this: communion. You are not merely a servant of the divine plan, you are a participant in it. The same power that raised Christ now radiates quietly through your hands. Your words, your very existence. You have become the echo of His victory. Chosen one, this is your resting place where striving ends and stewardship begins. You no longer need to prove, perform, or plead. You simply are, and that is enough to move heaven and earth alike. The story does not end here. It continues through your life, your legacy, your lineage. The laughter of God has found its echo in you. And now the world will hear it wherever you go. For creation no longer waits, you have arrived. Chosen one, take a deep breath. You've walked through every fire, every silence, every revelation. You have heard heaven laugh. And now that laughter lives within you, what began as a whisper has become a symphony, the sound of a life fully aligned with divine purpose. You are not just a listener to this message, you are its fulfillment. Heaven is still watching, still smiling, still moving through you. Every word you've read, every moment that stirred your spirit, these were seeds planted in sacred soil. Let them grow. Let them bloom into acts of love, into courage, into peace that transforms rooms when you enter. This isn't just inspiration, it's invitation. If this message has touched you, if you felt heaven's presence wrap around your heart as you journeyed through these words, let your response be light. Like this message, so the flame continues to burn. Share it, and let another soul find their awakening. Comment your reflection below. Your voice may be the very echo someone else needs to hear tonight. And if you haven't already, subscribe, not out of routine, but as a way to stay within this flow of divine encouragement. Together, we're building more than a channel, we're building a sanctuary of souls who remember heaven's sound. Every click, every share, Every word you write is a spark. When thousands of sparks unite, the darkness doesn't stand a chance. You are part of that light now. Keep it burning. Keep it spreading. Keep heaven laughing in victory through your life. You are chosen. You are crowned. You are the continuation of this message. Heaven rejoices because you heard. You believed. And you became